I'd like to call to order the Board of Education meeting for Monday, April 11th. If everyone would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have all members present except for Tammy West. And we are needing the adoption of the agenda, including the supplemental personnel report.
Make a motion, we adopt the agenda, including the supplemental personnel report.
I'll second. A motion by Jeff and a second by Tracy. All in favor? 6-0. And approval of bills. Brian and I were able to review the bills, and everything looked in order to us. Would you like to make a motion? We have a motion by Brian and a second by Barbara. All in favor? 6-0. Okay, we have on special presentations, I'm just going to read. We have, first off, Laura Woolfolk began teaching in the district in 1994, and she has since earned numerous awards, with the latest being Kansas Master Teacher of the Year. This marks the 11th Kansas Master Teacher from USD 443 in the last 16 years. Emporia State University established the Kansas Master Teacher Awards in 1953. The awards are presented annually to teachers who have served the profession long and well, and who also typify the good qualities of earnest and conscientious teachers. To be eligible for nomination, each candidate must have served at least 5 years in schools in Kansas as a teacher or instructional leader, exemplified teaching or administrative effectiveness, and demonstrated the attitudes and abilities specified in the National Education Association's Code of Ethics of the Educational Professional. So we'd like to congratulate Laura on being Master Teacher of the Year. And we also have another award. This is the Kansas State High School Activities Association. They define sportsmanship as those qualities of behavior which are characterized by generosity and genuine concern for others. Further, awareness is expected of the impact of an individual's influence on the behavior of others. Outstanding sportsmanship is acknowledged each year by presenting sportsmanship certificates, plaques, and medals. All 128 high school teams participating in KSHSAA state basketball tournaments may qualify for an award. A special sportsmanship committee appointed by KSHSAA evaluated and rated the cheerleaders, the school cheering sections, adult and non-high school followers, team and coach of each school. Dodge City received this year's 6A KSHSAA State Basketball Sportsmanship Award. So, great. And finally, we have the Red Demon Wrestling Team took 5th place in 6A State Wrestling, with 5 of our 6 wrestlers earning medals. Among the 5 Red Demons that made it to the semifinals, juniors Devin Plaza, he won the state title in the 126-pound weight class, and Tyler Garcia finished second at 138. And that was against an undefeated Garden City gentleman that had won 4 years, so that's impressive. Devin, Joel Ostrom, Clay Weil were all named to the first team All-Western Athletic Conference list. Also competing were Howard Johnson and Cole Trent. Congratulations to the Red Demon Wrestling Team. All right, we're ready for Stuco reports. Yvonne?
Good afternoon. I hope you all enjoyed that wonderful rain we got. I just wish it would have came earlier. So going on with my report. So this past Friday we had a meeting, and it was about electing officers. So come I think the 21st of April, I'll probably be bringing in or escorting in my follow-up. So that'll be exciting. And then the 11th of May, we're also going to be having movie night, so that's something else This is for seniors, so we will be asking around what movie they'd like to see, and we'll be holding this at the auditorium. And it's going to be a good time. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you.
Vaughn, are you going to the Naval Academy? I see that. That's sorry. I just.
Due to my injury that I had, I was disqualified from the first round, so I'm reapplying.
Okay.
And that's where I am now.
Good luck. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. Then I should have. Congratulations. Oh, good luck. I wish you the best. That's awesome. Yes.
Okay, Jay Sean is not able to be here this evening, so we have Jasmine Martinez from Dodge City Middle School.
So we have a lot of things going on. So we have new student elections. There were 10 students running to be next 8th grade student council officers. They each made a video and campaigned for office. The elections were April 7th, and the new officers are, well, the president is Camilo Gonzalez, the vice president is Citlali Rao, the secretary is Vanessa Rivera, the treasurer is Alden Nedler, and the committee is Paola Acevedo, Ty Valencing, Alondra Valle, Sammy Nguyen, Shakira Hernandez, and Danny Martinez. We are pleased to be turning over our leadership to the next set of officers. The Yearbook Club finished this year's school's yearbook. 205 yearbooks were purchased and sold. Yearbook Club has been continuing to sell hot Cheetos as a fundraiser for the PTO. We have also been in state testing session. We have completed math, science, and the MDP testing. We are currently taking the ELA test, and the school is pumped up and doing our best with that. We also have NJHS inductions. The National Junior Honor Society had their yearly induction for new members. We had a candle lighting ceremony to welcome 16 new 6th graders. And at the induction, we were privileged to have the Kansas Teacher of the Year, Mr. Coffee, speak to us. He inspired us to not be afraid to fail in life. Students in NJHS are also serving the community as they are signing up to volunteer at Special Olympic events. The IT group is also working on preparing their projects and demonstrations using Google Cardboard to prepare for their May presentations. We also have Cardinal Jam coming up, and DCMS students are showcasing their talents to audition for this year's Cardinal Jam. The auditions are April 26th through the 29th. We also have a Stuco-sponsored dance, which is April 22nd. And that's our final dance this year. It's going to be a sports-themed dance, and we're also going to include activities like a hula hoop contest and musical chairs. And one of our own, DCMS is holding a volleyball tournament to raise money for a staff member suffering from cancer. This is being sponsored through the school PTO. Students and staff are forming teams of 6 players to show support and raise money. And finally, we have the career fair. On May 6th and May 7th, the 7th and 8th graders will go to participate at the career fair. The career fair takes place every other year at the Civic Center. We are looking forward to going to see the presentations, and we will report back to you next month what we learned. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jasmine.
Jasmine.
You did a good job. All right, next up, Amy from Comanche.
Hi, so I had track practice today, and then I went to swim team, and I ran here because I missed seeing you guys for like the last 2 months. Yeah.
Glad to see you.
Yeah, it's nice seeing you guys too. I know I'm irreplaceable, so it was pretty bad. So student council elections are next month. Even though there's going to be a 2016-2017 president, I will not be replaced. And we're also going to have a career fair, which is going to be 6th and 7th grade. They're going to see like different jobs they could different jobs they could do, and the 8th graders we're going to see colleges to get us even more stressed out for life. And then the carnival is scheduled for May 19th, which I'm really excited for. And shout out to Ross because they're letting us borrow their stuff. Thank you so much. And kind of stole your idea, but It's okay. We're also going to have an 8th grade send-off, which is going to be May 13th at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We don't have that much of an idea what we're going to do because 8th graders are hard to please. I'm one of them, I can tell you that. And we're also going to have a Relay for Life, which Comanche's going to get a team together. And the first meeting is actually tomorrow, so we're going to see how many people we can get, and hopefully we can get a lot of people to join in because it's a really good activity. And every month I invite you guys to come and see Comanche, and you never do. And I asked, do you guys have questions? And you're like, no. And I'm like, well, now I'm going to ask you guys. I have a question for you guys. Why don't you come to CMS?
Good question.
We have been severely scolded, and I think we'll come.
Better. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you, guys.
Right, moving right along. Recognition of visitors. Persons may present ideas or concerns regarding USD 443 schools. No action will be taken by the board at this meeting. Personalities and behavior of employees are not to be presented during this period, but are to be reported to the employee's immediate supervisor. The president shall determine the amount of time to be spent for citizen participation. So if you'd like to address the board, please approach the podium at this time.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sarah Schaefer. I'm the librarian at Dodge City Middle School. And the reason why we're here with my posse, with my group, is this week is School Library Week in the state of Kansas and nationwide. And so we wanted to come. We have something that we'd like to share with you. We'd also like to take this opportunity to say thank you for the support that we've been given in our school libraries. You know, we're not just book depositories anymore. Oh no, far from it. We are learning spaces. We are areas where activities for students and teachers alike are happening. We are maker spaces. We are gaming areas. We are computer labs. We are virtual reality areas. We are so many things that are happening in the school libraries. We're areas where career readiness is happening in the school libraries. We are a multifaceted part of every school. So we would like to just take this opportunity to say thank you for the support that we've been given. And just like my friend from Comanche said, we would like to invite you also to come to the schools. Come to the schools. All of you that are here in the auditorium today, take the opportunity to stop by a school library. Take a little time, pick up a book, read to a kid, that'd be a great opportunity also at the same time. See what's happening. You'll find that they are completely different than what we remember as the old be quiet libraries. These are no shush zones now. These are areas where lots of things are happening in the schools, and we'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you and to invite you. Our librarians are also a part of the entire universe when it comes to schools. That is not only here in town. Our school librarians also belong to the consortium, which is a group of librarians that includes the college, the public library. We all meet on a regular basis to visit about opportunities that we may share. And we're also a part of the state organization. As a matter of fact, just this last weekend, District 5, that's the area of Southwest Kansas where Dodge City is a part of the Kansas Association of School Librarians, we're in District 5, had their spring workshop at Sunnyside Elementary. Rita is our district director for District 5, and we had a wonderful workshop all day Saturday at Sunnyside. So we're very active in not only our own individual schools, but the entire school district, the community, and the state. And we'd just like to say thank you for all that you do. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Next up, we have the consent agenda. That includes the approval of personnel, including the supplemental personnel report, the approval of minutes for our March 8th and April 4th Board of Education meetings, the approval of Building Blocks Library Grant app, the approval of the application for 21st Century Community Learning Center grant, approval of 2016-2017 Student Transportation Handbook, and the approval of disposal of district-owned property and equipment. Motion by Ryan and a second by Tracy. All in favor? All right, moving on to new business, curriculum and instruction. Judy, Glenn, and Ray.
Good evening, Madam President and board members, Superintendent Cunningham. If the first routine business is that we are going to be looking over the handbooks that are up for annual renewal as required by policy and by state law. We are going to look at the handbooks for the middle school and the high schools. The high school has basically, if you looked at the changes or the ESI document and the non-discrimination document, the rest of the handbook has remained intact in comparison to the year before. The only difference is the dates are still yet to be announced. There are still some dates that are going to be determined, and as soon as they are updated, then that will be added to the high school handbook at that time. So when we ask for your approval tonight, we will ask for permission to update those dates when they come available instead of bringing those specific dates back again. The handbooks for the middle schools are, again, they are very similar. They use the same handbook except for some small variations, and they are addressed in the appendix or in an addendum, which you have in front of you attached, and you can see those changes that separate the schools just slightly, but for the most part they operate. The core content is very for both schools. You will see some of the changes that added wording to the bullying policy. There's a little bit in discipline. The policy from the state we adopted earlier on student searches, that part has been worded and inserted into the handbooks. So you have a few policies that were adopted in January and February that have been, the wording had to be placed into the handbooks as required. And the only other separation that we have is in the Junior Honor Society. CMS is going to operate one in-house, and DCMS will still work with the National Honor Society. They're very similar in standards and requirements. It's just a matter of one will just be called the Junior Honor Society, and the other one will be the National Honor Society, Junior Honor Society. But everything else is very similar, and we'd like to be able to get your approval tonight on the high school handbook and the two middle school handbooks, so that when they're ready to go to press later on in the summer, that they will be able to do so. If you have any questions I can assist you with?
High school handbook is on your agenda for approval. Changes. You'll remember the legislature in their wisdom required that we add a lot of things to a lot of places. One of them is the emergency safety intervention guidelines that includes the grievance procedure for parents and students. That has to be not just in board policy, handbooks as well. And then the discrimination statement, the expanded version we have to have has been added. That's really it for the high school. Typically on handbooks, since once they're adopted, they're equivalent to board policy. And on board policy, we typically give 2 readings, once for any questions and answers, and then give you a chance to look at it and before it's approved at a meeting. With the high school handbook, there are not substantive changes. You just heard what those are. The middle schools, there are several changes, so they're on the agenda just for information only tonight, with the intent to put them back on the agenda at our luncheon meeting in 2 weeks for your approval.
We need a motion to approve the high school. I would make a motion to approve the high school handbook.
Second. Jeff and a second by Barbara.
Bring the middle schools back. I would encourage you to read the additions in that handbook. Don't worry about the ESI and the non-discrimination additions. They're the same as everybody else's, but just the other things that are highlighted in there to be sure they represent what you want to have represented.
Changes are easy reading. They're not very long. At this time, I'd like to have Tammy West come up, Preston, and she's going to do a presentation on the proposal for a boys swim team at DCHS.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Education, Mr. Cunningham. Tonight, I'm here to represent the athletic department at Dodge City High School, the current swim coaches for our girls program, and some young men that have expressed an interest at our high school to start a boys swimming program beginning in the school year of 2016-2017. Boys swimming is a winter sport. Girls swimming is right now during the spring, but boys is in the winter. It begins the middle of November and it runs to the middle of February. And swimmers can compete in 10 different meets during the school year. And included in your packet, I think it's the second page of what's in your agenda, there's a current girls swimming schedule. And we anticipate the boys schedule to be very similar to what you find there. So that will just give you an idea about the schools that usually we travel to and compete for swimming. This year we had a meeting to see how many boys might be interested in participating, and they had 60 young men show up that had an interest in competing in that program. Our practices are held at the YMCA. That's where our girls currently practice, and that's where our boys would practice. Unfortunately, due to the limited number of lanes there, we're never able to host a home event. So all of our events are on the road. Currently, there are 2 schools in our league in the Western Athletic Conference that have boys swimming, and if we add it at Dodge City High School, that will make 3 of the 5 schools, which will then make that a WAC event. In Dodge City, we feel like that this would be a positive thing to provide a program for young men, possibly that don't compete in other sports during the school year. What they would be up against during the winter season would be wrestling, bowling, and boys basketball. The swim meet consists of 8 individual events and 3 relays. And in your board packet, you will see that how much the coaches' salaries are, whether they're a head coach or an assistant coach. And if you'll notice the equipment, transportation, and meals, those projections are based on our girls' current season right now. So just to give us an idea and give you an idea on the expense there. And again, the projected calendar is in your packet. So I know that there's a couple people here tonight that are interested in the program, and I would field any questions that you might have.
I have a couple, Tammy.
Okay.
It says, you said about 60 young men showed up to
30.
Okay,
30
that's what's
young,
in the notes. Okay.
30 young men.
So is this a situation where 30 are interested, 30 are on the team, or is there a tryout?
It's quite similar to track, where there's really not a limit. You can enter like 3 times in each event, possibly. When we started girls swimming at the high school, I had been at the high school, I think, a year. And when we started out, we had, I want to say 16 girls. And over the years, that has built up. And this year, we are pushing 40. And just every year, that's kind of built just a little bit more. And so it's hard to tell when you come to that date in November of the first day of practice. We can't make a promise or a guarantee of how many will show up, but we do feel like we're offering a lifetime sport, and it's something different for people to try.
I guess I can probably ask it like this, so nobody gets cut then.
At this time, no. Now, again, we're limited on pool size just a little bit. I would say if you had 50 kids show up, then we may have to start looking at that, just because of the pool size and because of our limited time that we can practice at that facility.
Tammy, do you have an idea of how many would be from other winter sports?
And again, that's a really hard thing to say. When we added bowling, I feel like it's very comparable. Those boys that go out for bowling, very few of them do other sports throughout the year. A few do, but not very many. And we feel like swimming might meet a need of a different kid, a kid that in the summer they have a city swim team program here that's strong and competitive, and hopefully this will be something that we know now that our young ladies have something to look forward to in high school, and our men didn't, so they went out for those other sports. So it's really hard to say, but I don't feel like you would be stealing from those other sports.
Triggered the interest? Do you know?
Say it
Is
one
it the new swimming pool, or people want to get to learn how to swim before they go and get into the wave pool? Something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I know that the interest mostly comes from people that are involved in the summer swim team. However, when they had a meeting, it wasn't just kids that were involved in the summer swim team. So I think it's just something new and interesting for them to come out and try. And it'd be cool if we had a pool that was big enough and our own that we could host events on. But right now, the YMCA has been very gracious to work with us on allowing our young ladies to practice when they need to, and it's been nice.
Is the new city facility, is that going to be a competition swimming pool? Is that going to be big enough for us to be able to host at some?
Well, because that pool is
I'm
out,
sorry, huh?
it's,
Not in November.
yeah, it's outdoor. That pool is. So, no, the answer is
Call it
no.
the polar bear meeting. I'm sorry.
Pretty good question until that. Don't worry, Tammy.
Okay, no problem. Strike that one.
No, I agree with Lisa. It's the fact that the more kids we get in extracurricular activities, I'm all for it.
Correct.
If we were recycling the same kids all the time, we'd be wearing them out.
Right.
But if we're
Exactly
drawing
right.
new kids into extracurricular stuff, that's awesome.
And I really believe when you look at the final dollar figure on this, to add a opportunity for that limited amount of money, I think that it's well worth the money to do that.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
think, like you said, too, it's a lifetime sport. It's not something that they'll never do again once they leave high school.
Right.
And I'm for it, so I'm going to vote yes, I'm for it. But at some point, we're going to want to, I assume, especially in a 6A school district, host swim meets. Sure, that would be my thought. So,
who's he looking at?
That's something to keep under consideration as we move forward on the web.
Oh,
Boys,
absolutely.
girls swim team, know where to host any kind of events in a community our size with a 6A, Class A school district. I mean, we're going to have to want to do that at some point, I'd imagine. So
Well, the bigger
I'm
issue,
assuming we're looking at a facility at some point. That's just something to keep in mind.
the bigger issue though is what we could do with with the kids during the school day. That's the bigger issue. Needs, but I'd love to have a swimming. We're fixing to spend $85 million, so we're going to be thankful.
Pool is not included.
Yeah, pardon?
And a pool is not included.
Right. But it'd be great. We should have done it when we built the high school, but we were chicken to put it on the ballot.
I'll move for approval. I'll move in second, and then if there's more questions, I'll move for approval.
I have a motion by Ryan and a second by Tracy. All in favor?
Thank you.
Thanks, Tammy. Right, approval of teacher iPad replacement.
Board President, board members, Mr. Cunningham. This evening, I'm coming before you on page 49, as stated, to start the process of replacing some of our iPads. The plan is to replace all teachers, instructional coaches, 613 staff. And the model we're talking about, and the reason we want to do that is, at one time, like with laptops and stuff, we replaced and upgraded teachers, but we didn't do the instructional coaches. And pretty soon we ran into trouble. Well, they can do this, but we can't do this. So we want to make sure we provide the same device for anybody that's going to do about the same thing. And with the coaches helping teachers and teachers helping coaches and each other, that's why you see the amount beyond what the teacher number is of, let's see, 550. I think we have 400.
Roughly 450 of our teachers, but then we also have a number of special ed staff who
Right.
provide one for
And
us.
then 613, and we went over just a little bit to make sure we have some on hand. The iPad we're talking about is the exact same model that you have in front of you, except it's a smaller screen size. Other than that, it's exactly the same. The Apple Pencil is up for debate, how we're going to do this. The plan is to get 20 of them for right now, 20 pencils, and give them to the principals, and the teachers will check them out, and they will have to try them first before they can request one, which we will then purchase for them if they want one. And when I was talking to some math teachers, they said they could use them right away. They think because they can work out the problems in Notepad and email it to all their students. That was one idea. So I think we're going to have some interest in that also. As for the older iPads that we're going to take from the teachers, there's nothing really the matter with the teacher iPads. We're going to move them down to the student level. They're twice the size of some of the students. The student iPads are 16 gig. The teacher ones that we're going to take away from teachers and move down are 32. It seems like, and somebody help me out if you can, if you hear something different than I am, some of the apps seem to be getting a little bit bigger for the students. So there's some concern that some of the students, especially at the high school, are running out of space with the 16 gig. So this will be the first step to help us out with that. As you can see, we're recommending this purchase. Apple is a sole source vendor. And for the benefit of some, 3-4 years ago, whenever that was, somebody helped me out if I'm not saying it quite right. The board asked to establish a fund for iPad replacement, and there are sufficient funds available in that fund right now to proceed with this venture here. At one time, we also were talking about replacing all the iPads at once, all 7,500, whatever we have. I think that's too much. And as you can see in the first statement there in the first paragraph, we think incremental replacements is probably best. The iPad ones, for bright beginning, they might still work pretty good, but they're not much use for going up past second or third grade where we need to use them for state testing. And I figure, and it's hard to sit here and tell you exact things because you don't know what's going to change tomorrow. As far as the iPad 2 model is concerned, as you can see, we want to start replacing some of those. I feel like we might have one more year left on those. So this particular purchase, if you approve it, will help us out in just about everything and make everybody comfortable with devices that are sufficient to do what needs to be done. If there's no question, we ask for approval.
This comes out of the iPad fund, correct? Do we have a schedule? I mean, about 4 years, that's what we talked about that in the very beginning. But I just want to make sure that
We are, and I'll look to Bill to fill in the blanks here, but we are on schedule we have put money into that account each year for the last 3.5 years. And so funds will be there. They are there now, not quite all, to actually replace all the student devices when we get ready to do that. What we found in deploying these student devices over the first year and a half we did it, was biting off the entire student population at one time was way too much for our staff. So we're recommending we phase in the deployment.
We're at 3 years.
Yeah.
We're at 3 years.
We're in the third year on students and a little more than that on some of the teachers. So we think we've got at least one more good year out of all the ones we have, and what could have actually a little more than that. By that time, we'll have more than sufficient funds in the account to cover the expense of the new ones.
But it's not so much a schedule of replacement. It's kind of, we're putting the money away, and as we see the need, that's when we're going to.
We're not going to do it just because we've got the money.
Right.
We'll do it when we get to the point, like our iPad 1s right now, they don't have cameras, which we are using for more and more things, believe it or not. They cannot be upgraded beyond operating system 5.
I have
We're on
operating 9
system-
on there. I think the best they can do is 4.5 or 5.4.
We're on operating system 9 already, so you can't upgrade. So any of the newer apps that come out will not run on those because of the operating system. Right now, iPad 2s, which is the next oldest one, and then there's 3s, and then there's Airs, and then there's Air 2s, and now there's Pros. And that's how many generations are out. Generation anymore is about a half a year, it seems like. But those 2s will still update. Is that correct?
The two still upgrade, and the story is, or what I'm hearing is, once it goes to 10, they'll no longer upgrade.
That's why
But we
can't-
got another year on those if we need to.
I would like to see, I'd like to see, as we upgrade, the benefit of it. I mean, I don't doubt it, but I mean, how are we improving our classroom? How are we improving our classrooms by upgrading? What additional things can't they do on this one that they can do on this one now? I mean, just let the community see what kind of bang we're getting for our buck.
Just think about how much you've seen kids use QR codes. I don't know how much you're familiar
Right,
with those.
I use them.
Codes. Matter of fact, we have students in the district now doing the Amelia Earhart exhibit here, visiting us every day. We have classes of students coming in. Heritage Center's put together a wonderful presentation. They actually take iPads and go down the hall and scan QR codes to be able to access information they need for this Amelia Earhart journey. As Ray said, some of the newer apps are beefier, and they require a better operating system, a more advanced operating system to run. And so some of the applications we want our kids to be able to use, you can't use on the older devices. But we can get you some examples of those kinds of things to
I'd
share
love to
with
see
the
it,
board.
because,
Okay.
I mean, I think we spend this kind of money, we need to prove to the community, we're upgrading the classroom this way and this way by spending this money.
There's beyond that, also the consideration that comes to mind right now is state and ELPA testing. This year, for the first time, we've tested the CALPA, or the English language proficiency. If we wouldn't have those iPads in students' hands, I really wouldn't know what we would have done. We're trying to schedule that in a short window. And this is part of the apps I'm talking about. And that goes down. That's one of the primary reasons we need to keep up with some of those. And there's other consideration, maybe Judy or somebody can come in with what's happening in the classroom beyond that. I can't think right now beyond that, what I'm telling you. But meeting the demands of state assessment in itself, to me, is the need to watch what we're doing and make sure we're up to date.
My only concern is, all the public reads is the budget situation and how tough it is. And I think we need to kind of go that extra step and say, this is why we're doing this, because they deserve an explanation. Some things that we just consider course of business, I think now people are paying attention. And we just need to take that extra step of saying, this is why.
Just as an example, we used to budget and help me, Judy, if I'm wrong on this one, $750,000 a year for textbook adoptions every single year.
Right.
iPads are costing us not near that much, and are providing us more opportunities to access more current information than what we ever got in a textbook that was out of date once it was printed. But people don't realize we spent $750,000 on a math adoption. The next year spent $750,000 on an English adoption. Next year spent $750,000 on a science adoption, and on and on and on. That on a 6 or 7 year cycle. By the time you add all that up, we can do all that on an iPad and spend, what did we say, less than $3 million, I think, total for 7,500 of them, or right at $3 million, which is like 4 years worth of textbook adoptions.
That's a story we need to tell, though. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I just think that's the story we need to tell. I mean, that's what's happening, so that's what we need to say. So I appreciate that. I would make a motion that we approve the teacher iPad replacement recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Jeff and a second by Ryan. All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Ray.
Thanks, Ray.
All right, next up, we have the Public Information Office. Yvonne?
Cunningham, Madam President. Each year, the district honors its retirees in May with a retirement banquet. This year's celebration is planned for Friday, May 6th in the Commons area at Dodge City High School. And because we have 25 retirees, we're going to again begin dinner about 6 o'clock and then the program at 6:30. On the menu this year, we have chicken fried steak and mashed potatoes and chicken Kiev with wild rice. All of you should have gotten an invitation at the last board meeting, so please, when it's convenient for you, go ahead and RSVP to our office. Okay? That's going to be a really busy week because it's also Teacher Appreciation Week. Each year, the Board of Education shows its appreciation to all employees during that time, and it's an opportunity to show everyone how much they are appreciated for the effort they put forth every day for our children. It also gives the board a chance to thank them and acknowledge the crucial role that every employee plays in making sure every student receives a quality education. And in front of you is this year's gift for staff appreciation. We were able to put that together for a little over $1 a piece for everyone in the district. So my office will deliver those during that week as well. And then finally, the 129th commencement of Dodge City High School is scheduled for Saturday, May 14th. Graduation ceremony begins at 10:30 at the United Wireless Arena, and the board is invited to attend. Okay. Any questions on any of that? Okay, thank you.
All right, Human Resources, Susan.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Education members, Superintendent Cunningham. The information that I'm going to be visiting with you regarding, since the board packet went out, is the updated information that you have at your place. The 8.5 by 14 sheets, I guess, USD 443 certified filled vacancies, and then USD 443 current certified vacancies. And then there is also a student teacher assignment list that has been updated also. So those are the, rather than the documents that were originally in your packet, again, we have updated those. So these are the ones I'm going to be referring to. The very good news is that if you will look, the filled vacancy list is longer, not by a whole lot, but it is longer than the certified vacancy list. So that is great news. I want to make sure, I try to say this and I don't want to miss saying it this evening. I want to make sure that you all understand how time consuming on an already busy schedule certified hiring is for all of our administrators in the building. And they more than willingly assist in that task. Certainly a district of this size could not get the quality people that we get if just my office alone was responsible for that. So again, want to make sure that you understand and recognize tonight every principal and their work in helping us with our staffing concerns every year. Because again, without them, certainly the task would be a lot more daunting. If you will look at a couple things, and then I certainly want to be able to answer any questions that you have. If you will look at the sheet that says current certified vacancies, again, just for a little explanation, the very far right-hand column that says replacing, we have a couple abbreviations along with those names. LTS for the first two, that is long-term sub. Those two particular positions we were not able to fill with a certified person actually at the beginning of this school year, 15-16 school year. So those two individuals have assumed those classrooms and those positions in the role of a long-term sub. We certainly anticipate being able to fill those by the start of next school year with certified personnel. There are several other folks, as you look down that particular list on the right-hand side, that have a T by their name. That indicates that that is a current staff member who transferred, did not leave the district, but transferred to another position that would be reflected then on the certified filled vacancy list. So do those two explanations of those abbreviations, does that make sense on who those folks are? Okay. So then if you look then at the certified filled vacancies list, and again, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On the vacancy list, there were 6 Ts. And actually, if you look down the filled vacancy list, you're going to see, I believe, 10 transfer to positions. And the reason that there is a difference in that, mainly for our tracking purposes in our office, there are 3 individuals, and you can look who they are. There are 2 on the front page and 1 on the second page, where they have created the position, and then they've also been the person that has been replaced. And so they're listed twice. Each of those is listed twice as a transfer. Then the other, so that's 3 of the difference. Then the 4th difference is that one of our current persons in a teaching position filled an administrative position, and so then obviously that administrative position is not reflected in this particular these 2 lists as we're just talking about teacher vacancies. That clear that up a little bit. And again, I don't mean to confuse you. Again, we put those on there, again, to help us in our office to make sure that we are tracking positions accurately, so we know who has filled who and who has created the opening that we're advertising. Again, on the current vacancy list, you will see, again, on that far right-hand column that we have lit toward the bottom there, we have listed 3 different positions that are listed as unfilled positions from the 15-16 school year. Again, if you'll remember at the beginning of this school year, we had, I think, either 7 or 8, primarily kindergarten and 5th grade positions, again, where we had the numbers and also, excuse me, then we're not able to find certified teachers, where we collapsed sections in, again, I believe 3 of our different buildings. And so that is the result of that is why those positions are listed like that. And again, if you'll see on the filled vacancies, you'll see that we have filled several of those as well. Questions specifically about either of those 2 lists or other questions you may have related to staffing for next year?
In lieu of a better way to ask this, what's the market look like in hiring teachers right now?
Well, you know, I feel really good about all of the vacancies that we have filled. Again, I think we're getting a good, healthy mix of folks to add to our staff, whether that be first-year teachers, whether that be veteran teachers, whether that be folks that are coming to us in some fashion through an alternative licensing program. So again, I feel good about that. There continue to be options for folks who don't traditionally go to college with or in a teacher education prep program, and so again, I feel good about, again, those transition folks that we are still able to attract. Obviously, we still have numerous vacancies to fill.
Do we have all of the positions for that transition to teaching? We had 5 spots. Is that available for that? Is that correct?
I actually talked to them today because the applicants are applying directly to KSU, to K-State. We don't even know who they are or how many have applied. She was meeting with her dean this afternoon and was going to try to get that information and get back to me. But we do have 5 spots in the Transition to Teach grant program with KSU where they'll pay $6,000 towards the cost of a master's program for anyone interested in going into teaching who already has a bachelor's degree. And since that's directly from the applicant to KSU, we don't know who those are yet. We've talked to 2 or 3 or 4 people who said they were going to, but whether they followed through, we don't know.
Are you getting about a normal amount of applicants in?
I would say normal for the last 3 years,
Okay,
yes.
that's, okay. That's,
Yep. Any other questions on the vacancies? Okay. I also included the list that is titled Student Teacher Assignments Confirmed for the 16-17 school year. Again, intentionally, all of these slots are filled. All of the universities know who those confirmations are. Tonight, I left the actual student teacher names blank. I just feel that the university, since they're not our employees, the university is working with them directly. I feel like the universities ought to be the first to announce those positions before we do. But the entire list that you see in front of you with the cooperating teacher, the building, and the grade level, again, all of those have a specific student teacher assigned and confirmed with them. All of our elementaries, again, just a quick run through. Beeson will have 2, Central will have 1, Lynn will have 2, Miller will have 2. Northwest actually does not have anybody for the fall semester. They have had 2 student teachers in the last 3 semesters. And actually, we just hired about a week ago one of those student teachers to fill another slot at the elementary level. So I don't think it will be long until we'll be ready for Northwest to jump back in. Ross and Judy, I talked to Judy today. We have not heard specifically the number with Ross being designated as a K-State professional development school. We think probably 1 or 2 will be assigned there. We just don't know those folks specifically. Sewell will have 1, Sunnyside will have 1, Will Rhodes Garden will have 1. We do not have any early childhood candidates to place this fall semester at any rate at Bright Beginnings. Dodge City Middle School will have 2, Comanche Middle School will have 1, and Dodge City High School will have 3. So again, feel really excited and good about all of those numbers that we were able to place, as many as we were in as many buildings as we were able to place.
Typically, how many of the student teachers then are hired by the district?
Well, I'm trying to think from last year, and Judy, you may have to help me, at the elementary level, 4 or 5?
This is a larger number of student teachers in a semester than we typically have, which is good.
it is good.
I don't know, middle school guys, student teachers, Jackie, how many have? Yeah. Any other questions about that? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, business services, Bill?
Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent, this evening I come with several items to look for approval on. The first item that I have is the district meal prices, and Kathy Conradi is also here this evening, so maybe you want me to go ahead through this, Kathy, and then if they have any questions, ask you. Okay. We basically, district meal prices used to be a little more, I'll say, questionable for the board because you really had a lot more decisions to make. Today, it's one of the things that we work with the Golden Rule, and since the federal government provides the gold for our district nutrition program, they kind of set the rules. And the rule is that if you have certain district meal prices, there's a matrix that Kathy gets to fill all these things in, and they pretty well tell you what we're going to charge for meals. So this is really the presentation of what the government's telling us we need to charge for meals next year. Is that a fair statement, Kathy?
That's correct.
So we would recommend that to approve the proposed price increases for the full paid lunch prices, breakfast beginning August 2017.
I know that our hands are pretty much tied on this, but I do think it's unfortunate that the very small portion of students that have to pay full meal prices have to get charged more than they did last year. I mean, I know there's nothing we can do about it. I just think it's unfortunate.
I'm just curious, if we didn't do this, what would happen?
What, $3 million? Come on up,
I
Kathy.
mean, no. Yeah, I want the Cliff Notes version.
Pulling out the big guns now.
Yeah.
If we didn't raise prices, then the district would be responsible to make up the budget with non-federal funds. So you'd have to supplement or come in with the difference.
I second Ryan's motion.
Yeah, and this price is still below my reimbursement rate that I get from the feds. So the money that the parents provide plus what I get from the feds, I only get 56 cents for a paid meal. So it's still under that 3.4075 price I get for a free meal, or free or reduced.
We have a motion by Ryan and a second by Jeff. All in favor?
Thank you.
Bill, is there anybody in the state of Kansas doing that who has decided basically just to go it on their own kind of deal?
I have read
anybody?
in some of the national, like we get some national stuff from our national ASBO, and I think there are a couple districts that have, but usually they're fairly wealthy districts, and bluntly what they've determined is they just don't want to put up with all the regulations.
Then they will charge.
Right, absolutely. Okay.
The next item this evening, as the board is aware, or those who were on the board, we really moved our timeline up when we went for the bond issue. We were planning to do kind of an October vote was the thing, and suddenly the legislature changed some rules on us and the potential reimbursement, and we really went fast, and thankfully we got it done. The dilemma in doing it fast, sometimes there's some things that weren't completely thought through, if you will, before we did the bond issue. We just didn't have the time. And as we're working through these projects, these are some of these issues that have come up. Some of them I think would have maybe been taken care of if we'd had a little more time to plan, but some of them probably are just part of the process. I'm going to kind of go through these. There's a difference between the additional parking, and I think I talked to the board earlier about the SIR line because we didn't want the SIR going up overhead in the building, and this is to get the SIR outside. It will also take care of a situation if we ever do decide to add a concession stand by the football field at the high school. That SIR line would also serve that purpose. The culinary arts program, the original plans really pretty well called for just open space in some of the vocational area. This is one of the things is they've gone through the planning and programming at the high school that they want to add, so there's some additional dollars there. As we've looked at the Dodge City Middle School, there's some ways in terms of, we think, coming up with a little better plan to protect the gym floor, provide a little better security. Also will assist with some grading issues that we discovered between the building and which street is that? 6th Street. 6th Street. You want to come on up, Chris, in case he may have some comments here too, or you may want to ask him some. Central Elementary,
As you add, there is a requirement that you have to have water retention. So at Central Elementary, there's a plan that's been presented. It has been discussed with the city. We'll be burying some very 30-some inch, go ahead.
Instead of having like a retention pond, we'll have a big
So is there like a grate or something that?
as the water goes into it, yes, and then there'll be like
That's also one of the requirements when you build, you have to take care of water retention. Also at Central, and I want to thank the board, as we bought enough property, we now have those 2 lots that we bought on Avenue A. Those will become additional staff parking in addition to some parking behind the building. That was not part of the original plan and scope. Lynn and Beeson, those 2 places that we found that the sewer line was a little higher coming out of the back into the building than we had anticipated. It was not built as low as it indicated on the plans, and so bluntly, we're going to have toilets that you can't make it go upstream, folks. It just won't work, so we need to put a couple of sewer lines in. And again, just some dollars that weren't originally planned. Sewell Elementary, we're planning to extend the parking lot along Sewell Street, and as you know, Sewell Street kind of goes down beyond the school, and we think those additional parking spaces will be necessary for the additional staff and patrons of Sewell. And we're also looking, we met with the city about lining the entrances and exits to that parking lot across from streets, and they say that'll give us a safer traffic pattern in that area. So we're going to accomplish a couple things with that. Sunnyside Elementary, we're setting up a kindergarten drop-off area by the new kindergarten rooms. And Wilbur Garden, it says kitchen upgrade, but it's also parking. We had not included parking in the original plans down at Wilroads Garden. This is going to increase some off-street parking down there, which we think will provide a little safer environment for that facility. So anyway, the total of those is $1,053,000. The good news is, as you remember, when we sold the bonds, we came out ahead. The forces of interest and everything were with us. We have this money from the bond project to pay for all this. So I ask your approval tonight to add this to our available funds to spend. It's really not coming out of anything other than the bond project itself. Now, questions? I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of them. And I'm going to let Chris answer. So.
No, that was actually my question, Bill.
Oh.
Yeah, it's basically gonna still come out of the bonds.
Yes, this will still come out of the bonds. And thank you, Chris. Let's see. You may want to. Fleet rotation report each year. What we do is we bring to the board. We try to maintain a fleet that is up to date and in good working order. I'm real proud of our transportation department. They do a heck of a job. When the weather's bad, we still have buses that run, start, and really with very few problems. So this year we've identified those things that we have a couple buses to be replaced. We have one truck to be replaced, one vehicle that we're going to replace, and probably if there's maybe some discussion, we are looking at replacing a bucket truck. Chris, do you want to kind of come up and explain this? We actually had approval to replace this last year. We were going to try to buy a used one. And after spending about a year looking for a used one, we discovered, by the way, our bucket truck's still in the shop.
Yeah.
We have a bucket truck that's still in the shop and not working. But we spent about a year and we found out that we'd rather just by buying another piece of truck that would have 100 or so thousand miles to start out. We thought we really didn't want to do that. So do you want to kind of tell them what we do with the bucket trucks?
Currently what we do with the bucket truck is we have 255 outside lights that we would work on that we currently work off an extension ladder, and it's really not that safe. We do yard lights, we trim trees with it, backstop, net repair, outside building repair. If there's items that are higher than we can reach, it's easier to get that in there. Helps get equipment onto the roof. If we have to change an air conditioner or fan motors or something, we can use it to get up on top. Repair flag poles, work on outside signs, scoreboards, window washing. Some of the heights that we have to work at is high school, Dodge City, or 50 feet. Ross is at 45 feet. Central, 48 feet. Football stadium flag poles at 55 feet. There's just a lot of items that we really work up high, and it would be nice to have a safe means to get there. And
I wouldn't want to be on an extension ladder replacing 255 lights, that's for sure.
Again, this is just kind of approval. What we do at this point, then the next meeting will bring in specifications for board approval. You really haven't made a final commitment until you actually authorize the bids, which will come after you approve the specifications. But that was a little different. I don't think when I started in this business, I ever thought I'd be buying a bucket truck, to be real honest with you. But
So how long do you anticipate that bucket truck lasting?
this type of piece of equipment, we would use it off and on, but it would be 20, 25, 30 years before it would. We have the current one we bought used, and it's pieced together, and it's broke down more than we use it, so.
On the Ford Excursion, are you planning on replacing that with a like size or a smaller size vehicle?
it will be with a SUV. The Ford Excursion was actually owned by the migrant program, and what we've discovered is some years it's had quite a bit of miles, but there's some years it's actually not used that much. So what we're discussing with Robert Benton is we will not have another vehicle out of the migrant program. Rather, when they need one, they'll just use one from the fleet and reimburse mileage to the district. So that's our plan with the Ford Excursion.
Information only at this point, right?
That'd be fine, yes, and we will bring the specifications. We just wondered if there was anything else that we needed to do, if there were any questions. Okay, next item on the list is the Tournament of Champions. What we try to do each year is after the facilities used for the Tournament of Champions, we try to get the contract finalized for the next year. We also are on the list at United Wireless where we reserve dates, I think, 5 years in advance now? And we do that for both Tournament of Champions and graduation, because we don't want to be in a situation where, gee, it's time for Tournament of Champions and they've scheduled something else in that facility. So this is just basically an approval of that contract. Jay Gifford and really the high school do more than negotiating on this than I do. I just kind of am the one that brings it and presents it. So, any questions?
I'll move.
Motion by Ryan, second by Tracy. All in favor?
And I think the final thing is, I'm going to turn this over to Chris Myron. He's going to talk a little bit about capital outlay update.
Just an update on capital outlay. All of the furniture we've ordered, it is in Dodge City, Kansas. It will be installed as soon as school is out. Fire alarm system at Civic Center is 75% installed, and it will be done by May. The smoke curtain, or the smoke hatches and the fire curtain, will be done in June and July. They take longer to get in, but we will have some protection by May. The freezer that is for food storage is going to go out to bid next week. Demon-filled ADA restrooms, bids go out next week. Sunnyside roof replacement will go out to bid next week. Sunnyside HVAC replacement is out for bid right now. We'll have bids back next week. The carpet is on order and will be here and installed over the summer. And I'm currently working on all the other items, trying to get them out the door. Questions?
Chris?
I might just mention on page 58 in your agenda, is a list of dates and that you might be interested in. We've been asked a lot when we're going to start seeing movement on the facilities construction projects. And this gives the best estimate from GLMV Architecture of which projects will begin on which date. So when you're asking the public when we're going to see something happen, this is at least the preliminary information that you can share with them.
Okay, Board of Education member district responsibilities, Parks and Rec, Barbara?
We did not meet last month.
Okay. Bright Beginnings, Tracy?
Bright Beginnings has submitted 3 of the 5 main grants that fund the program. Pretty confident that the grant discussions are going smoothly and expect full funding. they're currently taking applications for the 16-17 year, the KPP, the Kansas Preschool Program that's accepting applications for 4-year-olds. Those are the ones where there's no income. Have to be 4 by August 31st, and they're planning their final home visits May 4th through the 6th. Policy council on the 19th.
Right, special ed.
They did not have a meeting last month due to lack of a quorum. Their meeting.
Legislative. The legislature of the state of Kansas passed a school funding bill that was sent to the governor. It was signed. They are submitting it to and most of you know this, they're submitting it to the Supreme Court for approval of the ruling in which the Supreme Court has made. Supreme Court has fast-tracked it. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, May 18th is kind of one of the major dates.
April 18th
April
is
18th.
First submission of briefs.
Right.
Second submission of briefs is like 2 weeks later, and then oral arguments are scheduled for May 10th.
Right. Have been in contact with some members of the State Board of Education, and they took a straw poll among themselves about what they think will happen. And there is the feeling that the Supreme Court will reject the bill, and I think we would all be shocked if they didn't reject the bill, and that there is such a animosity right now between the legislature and the judges. I was told school districts better begin to think about a contingency plan for schools closing. Now, you would hope that there was the maturity and the common sense in Topeka not to do that. But the majority of the state school board is absolutely convinced that there will be a school shutdown. And that the implications for that are, nobody's thought through it. If they're even contemplating it, there's a lot of chest beating and posturing, and it's really a situation that's going to be very, very interesting for us to watch unfold. So, like I say, you would hope that maturity and common sense would rule the day, but there are many who do not think that it will. So it's kind of like stand by for news. See how this plays out. But the last thing I was told today, this is much more serious than the majority of the people in the state of Kansas realize. Unless you've been in the halls of the legislature, it's very difficult to know the sense of stubbornness on both sides. See.
Thanks, Jeff.
You want the truth? Or do you
All right.
You just try to get information, and you want to know what people who are walking through the halls and of what they're saying and what they're thinking. And it's not pretty.
Have anything you want to add to that, Alan? Or?
Meeting next Friday, 2 weeks.
We have already received capital outlay update, nothing on the calendar committee, and we have Tracy scheduled to review bills prior to the May board meeting. Announcements, Monday, April 25th, Board of Education luncheon meeting in the chapel at Youthville beginning at noon. May 1st through the 6th, the USD 443 Staff Appreciation Week. Friday, May 6th, USD 443 Retirement Banquet beginning at 6 o'clock in the Commons at the high school. Monday, May 9th, Board of Education meeting at 6 o'clock in the Austin Boardroom. Saturday, May 14th, 129th commencement of Dodge City High School at 10:30 at United Wireless Arena. And on a personal note, I can't make this required attendance, but if I could, I would. I think it's really important that we be there if at all possible. Sunday, May 15th, Dodge City Adult Diploma Program graduation at 2 o'clock in the Dodge City High School auditorium. Are there any items for future board meetings or for additional? Executive session to discuss negotiations. We also
We'll do 30 minutes and start with Mr. Hammond, Ms. Sherling, and legal counsel Brad Rao.
Okay.
Good. Make a motion, we adjourn. Am I making a motion, we adjourn or go into executive session?
Executive session.
Make a motion, we go into executive
Can we do
session.
5?
Yeah. Okay, motion by Jeff and a second by Tracy. All in favor? 6-0.
Times graduation.
5 minutes.